No, look there, it says awkward. It says award. Oh.
Award-winning inspirational short. A short is just a small little video clip.
Good morning, class. In today's lesson, we will be speaking about Plato's allegory of the cave. In Plato's allegory, he talks about human beings living in a cave. All their life, from their childhood, they've been chained up in such a way that they cannot move their bodies, and all they can see in front of them is a dark wall. Because they have never been outside of this cave, all they know about life is this dark wall. However, one day, a slave is released, and he discovers a whole new world outside of the cave. And because he is now the enlightened one, his job is to come and free those that are still trapped in the cave.
Even the lesson is symbolic.
Look, think about it like this. Front row consists of kings, bishops, queens, pretty much the people in charge of the country. The second row is made up of pawns. The pawns are the least important and are pretty much what the leaders use to protect and benefit themselves. They're meant to be used for your own advantage.
Don't forget your red mask. Put it on. And now I pass you on to Carla with the segment on terrors of
Today, the truth found.
Okay, when I told you guys that this was very symbolic, what do you think the masks were symbolic of?
makeup.
Okay, hold on.
They were like pretending to be somebody that they weren't.
Okay, so did you notice that different people had different colored, like the same color masks on? So what do you think that represents, kind of, in school? Cliques, right? Friends, friend groups? Did you notice what happened with, they said, this is what beautiful looks like with the yellow mask? What did you see after that? A bunch of girls wearing yellow, right? So Mrs. Brigg and I were saying that, you know, like, I think we all wear different masks, right? I know that I am Mrs. Wood at home, mom at home, right? My mask at home looks different than my mask looks here. My Mrs. Wood mask looks different than my Debbie mask with my friends. You know, that we all wear masks of some sort, but what did you notice at the very end of the video? She took it off, right? What were you reading in her face when she took it off? she's happier, okay? That takes a lot of courage, right? So I guess that's a good segment into what we're gonna talk about today, which is mental illnesses and anxiety disorders and all kinds of emotional disorders. And those are like hard conversations to have, right? Because we talked about COVID, right? We know what that is. That's a physical illness that shows up in your body, right? Or if you had a headache, or if you had cancer, those are all physical illnesses that people can talk about. Why is mental illness such a hard, because it's still an illness, why is it such a hard, like, thing to talk about? What do you think?
It's not understood.
It's not understandable, right? People think that it's something that people can just snap out of it, right? So when you guys see people that come into school every day and out on the streets, we do kind of wear those masks, you know, and people do kind of try to hide a little bit of what they're going through, and we don't really know. And I think that Abby's so right. Like, we don't understand the whole thing about mental illness, but there's also a stigma. Remember what that word means?
Reputation.
Like a negative reputation assigned to mental illness, okay? Which shouldn't be, all right? So we're gonna try to talk about it now. We noticed that many of these things start to surface around middle school age, or in young adulthood. So I think these are really important conversations for us to have. So guys, take out your Chromebooks and take out your Chromebooks. You guys are already on your Chromebooks.
Yep, guys,
Go ahead on your,
you're not gonna get hard copy notes, so make a copy of the notes. It says mental health disorders, classwork, and make a copy, or if you want, just take out a piece of paper and you can write it like, you know, on the side if you don't wanna make a copy to write on the Chromebook. Okay, guys, there's hard copies on the cart if you wanna grab a hard copy. I know you guys like to make a copy.
Right on your Chromebook. If you want to do a hard copy, we got them.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, mental has anything, it's not anything to do with your brain, you guys.
Right there.
Okay, an illness is that your brain might not be functioning the way a person who doesn't have a mental illness functions. So what are some different types of mental illnesses that you guys know of?
Wait. Where are we going?
Okay, so you should be on your
Classwork
Make a
and
copy of
notes.
your
Do you
worksheet.
see it?
Where's the word?
No, it's not a worksheet, it's notes.
Or notes
Oh, no.
on your computer.
Notes, under classwork. Okay, do you guys see it?
No, it's under note.
It's under
You
notes.
got it? And you're supposed to identify two different mental illnesses.
Right here, mental health notes. Again, you click on it, file, make a copy. Make a copy and you can write on it, okay? Does everyone see it? Okay, good, Ryan, guys?
So there's two spots there to identify two different types of mental disorders, and there are so many more. So what do you guys think? What are two different types? We're gonna go some more. Abby?
Anxiety.
Anxiety disorder. Okay, that's one. You guys can fill that in. Anxiety disorder.
ADHD.
ADHD, yep. Attention deficit with hyperactivity disorder. Yep, what else?
ADD.
ADD, right? That's just attention deficit disorder without hyperactivity. That just means that your brain works a little bit differently. What else? So anxiety. What else when people are feeling pretty down for a long amount of time? Depression. That's another one. I'm just giving you guys more than two, all right? What else? When people use food to kind of control, they're like eating disorders, okay? You have anorexia, you have bulimia. Those are some examples.
I don't so the one thing that is like a
Here we
big
go
question
again.
mark is an eating disorder. How can you be so upset not to eat? I get so upset to the point where I don't stop eating.
I've been there. So Abby said, I don't understand like how do you get to the point where you don't eat? So it's not really about food, you guys. It's about when someone has an eating disorder, it's about finding control in their life. All right, so one thing that you can get control over is food, right? Because you have to eat every single day. Sometimes many people who are diagnosed with eating disorders feel that they have a lack of control in their life. All right, so they can control how much food they put in, they can control how they can get rid of food, all of those things. So it doesn't really even become about food, it becomes more about control. And it's really hard, you're right, Abby, to understand it if you've never had issues
Yeah,
with that.
and Angelina type binge eating is another kind of eating disorder.
Absolutely,
Yep.
Angelina, yep. Binge eating is when you can't stop, okay? How about PTSD? What is that? Go ahead, Jim. Post-traumatic stress disorder, okay? Who is that mostly identified with? Like, what group of people mostly? Go ahead, Jim. The military, okay? But it can be with anybody that has experienced some kind of traumatic thing in their life, okay? Trauma is different for every single person, all right? But we had a couple of students, one's out of school now and one, I think they're both out of school now, but when they came to us from a different school district, they had witnessed their mom being murdered. So you can't imagine anything more traumatic than that, right? So they sought help, they were going for counseling, they were taking medication. They're both doing very well now. But that's an event in their life that happened to them that could keep coming back and reoccurring in their life and cause them not to be able to live a normal life, right? Anything like that, post-traumatic stress syndrome.
I was watching a TV show and like there was like a campfire and like talk. So then like a guy that used to be in the military, he had to like go and like leave and he was like stressing about it and stuff. And he had PTSD.
So PTSD, right, it could be something else in your life later that triggers it, right? And it causes you to lose control of being able to live a normal life, right? Even that moment.
Yeah, when I was 5, you guys know the story. I'm not like telling it again because it's a million times. But also, it was like 5 minutes before my dad died. He was like, "I'll be right back," and then he never came back. And I was like, and I was so confused because I had no idea what was happening. And then, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, Em. That's a tough one. That's awful, you know, that you had to go through that. And that is definitely a traumatic event in your life, right? Have you seen that play again, like in later things? Like sometimes you get nervous about someone saying goodbye?
And I woke up with like my pillow soaked in tears because I was crying and I woke up with a dip like in my bed because I punched the wall.
So that was your reaction to that, right?
Uh-huh.
So the reason that there's so much stigma about mental illness is really because there's a lot of myths about mental illness and emotional disorders. People believe that mental and emotional problems are not true illnesses, and that is incorrect, okay? Oftentimes, they will see a chemical change in your brain, you know, when they do brain scans that affect you. Tell me what happens to you sometimes when you have, like, a lot of anxiety. What happens to your body? Like, what are physical symptoms, Abby?
Your stomach can hurt, you can get a headache.
Your stomach can hurt, you can get a headache, what else?
You could like, I'm sorry, when it goes bad, like you never feel like awake ever.
Yes, you're excessively tired, absolutely. So those are all like physical symptoms that show, right? Sick to your stomach, some people throw up.
Wait, for anxiety?
So for mental and emotional problems, people feel they're not true illnesses, but they are true illnesses. People with mental and emotional problems cannot just snap out of it, all right? You can't just say to someone who has post-PTSD, hey, come on, snap out of it. You know, get it together. A disorder is a disturbance that is in the normal function of a part of the body. All right, so the way you would normally function, it's a disturbance. Oh, hold on.
Okay.
This is someone with anxiety or emotional disorder that this is what they want you to know.
Gonna read it.
It may seem irrational to you, but what I'm anxious about is very real for me. I never know when it's going to hit me, and when it does, I just need you to support me. Don't give up on me when I isolate myself. Just having someone you love and trust reminding you to breathe sometimes really helps. Even when things are wonderful, I'm always looking for something horrible to happen. Sometimes when I'm feeling the anxiety, I have no idea why I'm anxious. For real, it's not you, it's me. Generalized anxiety feels like drowning all the time. Anxiety doesn't have a look. I don't have to be trembling or hyperventilating to be anxious. I need you to reach out to me. Even when I'm so anxious, I stop leaving the house. I analyze things constantly because of anxiety. I cannot turn off my brain, and it can be exhausting. Anxiety is not an attitude. Most of the time, you won't know I'm having anxiety unless I tell you. Sometimes I just need to be alone. It's really not personal. I am still me. I am not my anxiety. So that's someone who has anxiety. Anybody who has, I don't want you guys to go home today and say, oh, I have some of these things. I have anxiety. I have some depression. We all have those things sometimes, okay? We're talking about people who can never get past it. You know, it becomes, they feel down one day, and then they feel down day 2, and they feel down week 2, and then they feel down the next month, okay? Those are the things that we're trying to bring to the surface. Those are the things that we're saying, like, affect the function of your daily living. You know, that those are the things that you need to get help for. Go ahead.
I have a question about like people, it's like a mental illness, right? Like that type of thing.
Mental
How can
effect in your brain, yeah.
you- Right? So how can you treat that with actual medicine? Because I get like, you know, on cable when there's like, oh, if you have depression, take this, or if your pill's not working, yeah, this or that. How can you treat that? It's not something like a cough. It's not, it's in your brain.
It is in your brain, but many of the medications, and honestly, people, even sometimes, this is why it's so important, and, you know, we want you, like, if you feel like you need some help, it's good to see a counselor if they put you on medication, while you're on medication, because those, as you guys grow, the medication that worked when you were maybe 8 or 9 or 10 is not working at 13 and 14. Okay, so that's why it's important to have that dialogue with a counselor and to work on the other things in your life, not just the medication. Okay, because there's a lot of mindfulness techniques and other things that they can teach you that kind of go along. But some people do need to get to the point where they need medication, and the medications that they have now are really, really good, and they affect different things in your brain. So what do they call it? I always say when I work out, I get endorphins. Okay, so endorphins get released in my brain when I work out, and those are like happy feelings. So medications alter some of those things so that you get maybe more of those happy feelings rather than the depressed ones. So it really actually does work in your brain.
I don't understand why it's like depression pill, and it's like side effects may include suicide.
Well, again, Abby, you're kind of illustrating the whole point of why you need to work with a counselor side by side when you're taking medications. Because even kids who take medication for ADHD or ADD, you know, as your body changes, you need to let them know, like, this makes me feel good, this doesn't make me feel good, and they can adjust that. Not everybody needs medication, guys, okay? I go through days when I'm depressed. Mrs. Greg goes through days where she's having a bad day. That doesn't mean that we need to be put on medication or we need to go see a therapist, all right? We're back to talking about the person who never has a good day. You know, like, these things are affecting the general way they live their life, okay? Usually anxiety disorders may first become apparent during your teen years or young adulthood. Why then? Like, why do you guys think it would become apparent, Joey?
That's like where you, like, you're in young adulthood, you have a lot of stress on your back, you like getting a job, you have like high school and college.
Yeah, like, that's true. Joey said, like, you have a lot more, like, stuff on your plate that you have to worry about. That's true. What else happens when you become a teenager versus being a young child? More schoolwork, but you can communicate better when you're older, right? When you're little and you have something happen to you, you act out, all right? That's maybe the only way that you can tell someone, I don't feel good. You know, you throw yourself on the ground, you have a temper tantrum. You can't really use your words as good as you can as you get older, you know, and then you can sit down with someone and say, this is the way I've been feeling. You know, I have not had a good day in 2 weeks. You know, every day I wake up, I have dread. I feel like something bad is going to happen. Those kinds of things, you're able to verbalize it. And that's why they finally start really focusing on these disorders when kids get to be at this age. And that's why we're focusing on them.
Guys, online, if you've got something to say, unmute yourself and you can talk or write it in the chat, okay? Because you're part of this class too.
So here are a couple other mental illnesses that we did not talk about are schizophrenia. You know, those typically people who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia definitely need to have some kind of hospitalization and they need some medication to help control schizophrenia. Does anybody know what that is? Take a shot at it.
Like
Go
when
ahead,
you're,
Joe.
Is it like sadness where like you can't stop moving or something?
Sadness, it could be sadness, but it's more than that.
like you're really,
You're like uptight.
Well, you could be. So schizophrenia is people are like, they have, you and I might see things this way. They might be having hallucinations. They might be feeling like you're gonna get me, Abby. Like you're coming at me. Like they hallucinate things, and that really affects the normal way that they can live their life. So there's also bipolar. Does anybody know what bipolar is? Go ahead, Ryan, with that. Bi is 2. So what does a person look like when they have bipolar, maybe? Sad, right? Extreme sadness, like extreme sadness, extreme depression. And then what else do they feel maybe the next day?
Happy.
Extreme happiness, okay? To the biggest extremes. And can you imagine like when you're young and you have like a temper tantrum and you're throwing yourself on the ground and you're crying and it's all over, how exhausting that is. Someone with bipolar goes through those cycles constantly. So you've had some access to it. You've seen it. You've seen it maybe in your family or through. Yep. Well, and people use that term, oh, you're so bipolar. You know, that's, and almost, you know, everybody, when you're a teenager, right, you have mood extremes, but these are excessive mood extremes, okay? And we talked about, how about phobias? So when we talk about phobia, we talk in terms of like an exaggerated fear, okay? Everyone's a little afraid of something. Does anybody in here have like an exaggerated fear, Joe?
I'm not, I guess not dying. My doctor said that I had like a fear of like the ocean, which he said it was called thalassophobia.
Yeah.
It's like the fear of big objects or like something beneath you, like seafloor that you can't see.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what's down there. So
And it does, how does it affect you, like when you like go to the ocean and you see it?
Well, my dad loves going to the lake, like Gonzaga, and every
Yeah.
time we go there, like, it's like he tries to freak me out because there's these little barracuda things that stay at the very bottom. They
Yeah.
don't come up, but every time I get in the water, I just have like a very anxious feeling that they're.
What does that look like for you? Like, what does it make you feel like?
When,
Hold on one second, Abby, I'll be next. Go ahead.
When I, like, a long time ago, my dad went scuba diving, and I was on the shore, like, waiting for him.
Watching them, yeah.
And there were these boobies that were like really far out, like
Yeah.
a giant square, and you could go out till it was like 15 feet down. And I went out that far, and I went below the water, and I looked out and I saw like a shadow, and I was like horrified, so I
Yeah.
closed my eyes, and like, in my head, I saw like a giant shark coming at me.
Yeah.
So I like got like horrified and swam all the way back, but it was just the boat.
It's incredibly real, right? You don't really know where it started from. Anybody else have a phobia? Go ahead, Abby.
I feel like this isn't like an actual real phobia, but like anytime somebody like turns on a chainsaw, I feel like somebody's behind me and they're like gonna grab me and stuff. Like,
Well, luckily people don't turn on chainsaws a lot around you, right?
yeah, like when I'm at camp though, my uncle likes to chop down trees and I always have to go inside.
Yeah. So that's how you deal with it. Yeah, and that kind of a phobia takes over your whole body. So when I was younger, we used to have mice in the attic, and my dad would catch them in mouse traps, and he'd say, "I'm coming down, Dad," and I could hear him down. And so ever since then, since I was little, that must have been traumatic to me because I can't stand mice. I can't stand mice. Like it's not even not standing them. It's like they make my breath away, and I'm like feel like something bad is gonna happen to me. It's that extreme of a phobia. Do you have one, man?
Yeah, so like when I'm sleeping, I cannot have my door open. I cannot, like, it's open space type of thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm not scared of, like,
We're
right
talking
now,
about
I'm
phobias.
completely fine, but if I'm in my bed and I'm trying to sleep and the door is open, I will start freaking out and I'll sit there and cry for my mama until she comes close.
Like it really takes over your body, right? Does anybody at home have any phobias that you guys want to share?
Yeah, Alec does. Go ahead. Yep, go ahead. Unmute, Alec.
So I have this one I found. It's called trypophobia, and it's a fear of small clusters of holes.
Oh my gosh, we just talked about that last
Yeah.
class, but somebody else had it too.
Yeah, that one. And then also one that just happened, started like a few years ago. It's called anemophobia, and
Yeah.
it's a fear of like things like blowing away from like strong winds. So especially when we had that power outage,
Oh yeah.
that was pretty stressful.
Yeah, and we all have
Wow,
fears,
yeah.
you guys, but a phobia is an intense, like what we all share here. Ryan, do you have a phobia? Ryan has a phobia of me taking his phone away.
Yeah,
That's
get
what
off
his
your
phobia
phone.
is. Right, put your phone away.
What?
Put your phone away. What's your phobia? Do you have one? Claustrophobic, yeah. Like being in small, tight areas, absolutely.
We are completely opposite.
Go
Angelina.
ahead.
We are literal opposite.
Angelina's phobia of annoying
And
people.
There's the phobia, dysphobia is the longest word in the dictionary and it's for the fear of long words.
Oh, but luckily most of us can manage our phobias. Sometimes people have so many phobias they can't manage them. Okay, this is what we're talking about. Anxiety disorders can be successfully managed. Okay, again, you guys, I'm going to stress with you, it's not that, every once in a while you feel anxious or every once in a while you feel sad. It's that exaggerated sense of never feeling good, always feeling like something bad is going to happen, that you just can't ever feel better. That's when you need help with managing your anxiety disorders. So counseling is always a great way. And I would tell you guys that, like we saw the mask thing in the beginning, and you just never know what people are going through at home, and they don't always show the real self. So people won't always come and seek help. So that's where we kind of talked to you guys when we were talking about social emotional learning. That is where you come in. If you have a really feeling about someone that they changed, they don't appear to be happy anymore, they are going through, you think their reactions to things might be exaggerated, please come and tell them to go. Don't let them and they may be, anxiety isn't always the kid who hides in the corner. What kind of anxiety look like to someone? Right? It's not always the kid that hovers in the corner, anxiety.
It could be very, vocal, but.
Yeah, you could be totally aggressive, right? Sometimes anxious people are totally pounce on people. They're aggressive, all right? That's just the way that some people deal with it.
When I moved, I did that. I hit my cousin's tooth and then I almost broke his leg.
Because you were furious.
Yeah, because we both had really bad anger issues.
So counseling really helps with all those things. Mindfulness. What's mindfulness? I feel like we talk about that a lot. Give me an example, Joe.
Like being thoughtful of others, treating others the way you want to be treated.
That's always a good way to live, I think. I've always tried to be that way through my life. Mindfulness is like a technique that you might use to calm yourself or your brain down. What might that look like, Abby?
Like when you do the breathing thing?
The breathing thing, okay? That's a big part of it. Some people take yoga, all right? Some people like to go to their happy place. So if you guys check on my page today, there is a whole mindfulness encyclopedia of things that you can choose. It's a setting, it's the beach, it's anything that, maybe it rains. Sometimes I like to listen to rain, that helps, that calms me down. So any of those things that you use to practice, these are all healthy ways to deal with anxiety. Sometimes when those things still don't work, people do a combination and they might take some medication. And those do, Abby, they do manage the chemicals in your brain if you're on the right medication. All right, and some people can't function without that piece. I think it's good, if you need to be on medication, it's absolutely good to be working with a counselor at the same time. Because you want to work at things that you have control over, okay? Not just managing the chemicals in your brain, like mindfulness, just some things that make you happy. Again, mood disorders, people who feel sad for a long period of time. It's not just a couple days here and there or a day, or it's weeks, it's months. They're extreme, okay? The mood disorder is extreme and it just seems to be a little bit much. And the person is different. Bipolar, we talked a little bit about that earlier, okay? It's someone who cycles through different high and low periods, all right? And they are excessively high and excessively low, all right? They can be loud and we call that manic, and they're exaggerating things. Everything they do, they present things, they're loud, they're kind of in your face. Then they go to extremes the other way, where they have no energy and they probably sometimes can't even get out of bed. But you can imagine how exhausting that is for someone with bipolar. So the symptoms that come with the depressive, the sad part of bipolar, the part where you probably can't even get out of bed, also occur in major depression. All right, again, we all have days that we feel depressed, guys, but if it happens over and over and over again and you just don't ever have a good day, then that's when you need to talk to someone, okay? I would love it if you guys had that kind of relationship where you could talk to your parents, because that's so important.
What if your parents have the issue?
Most people have those issues with their parents when they're teenagers, but you do grow out of it, trust me. You know, I think you guys are at the point in your life where you want to be older than your parents want you to be, right? You want to have more things in your life than your parents are willing to give you. And from a parent, two parents here, Mrs. Greg and myself, all we want to do is keep you guys safe. You know, so that's where the conflict comes into play. But it does get better as you get
Oh my
older.
god. My mom was so psycho the other day. I made a friend that Brendan met that's the story of it, because we had to make up a story so I could talk to my friend. We literally had to sit there and you said, alright, well this is.
On the computer? You had a friend on the computer?
Yes, I made a friend on the computer, but I think they were in Texas, like, also.
So I would say, Abby, I get where your mom's coming from, because we talked to you guys about being safe on the computer too, right? Remember how we talked
did.
about, it might not be a 13-year-old, it might be a 40-year-olds?
I know, I made sure.
I don't
Well,
like
there's
Abby.
never really
Oh,
anyways.
Angelina does not like your friend, so.
Unless they look like a 2-year-old, and they're like 27.
Okay, moving on.
All right, let's talk about depression. So guys, depression among teens, they said, now this was done well before COVID hit, these statistics. So they say as many as 20% of teens suffer from major depression. Major depression is, you know, you just can't snap out of it, right? It's not just having a bad day once in a while, it's every day. So I would beg to differ with that 20%. I think it might be a little higher now since COVID hit. You know, that we lost a lot of control in our life, and it's just the uncertainty. So negative ways that people deal with depression: alcohol, drugs, self-harm. Those are all negative ways, okay? And those can also lead to a whole nother issue of addiction, you know, which is another thing that someone has to deal with on top of all of this. So we would like to say, I think talking counseling is a good, positive way to deal with it. Mindfulness techniques, okay, and in some cases, medication. We talked about it. Someone who is depressed, encourage that person to talk to one of us, all right? Any of us. It doesn't have to be me. You guys all have a teacher that you really like here, Mrs. Gregg. It can be a coach. It can be anybody, an adult that can help you or help your friends. It can be managed. We talked about that, using some good techniques. Mindfulness is awesome. Please check out my page. It's a really cool setup in there. You can pick out what you want to listen to, music or a setting. It's really neat. Mr. Arquette sent that to us. I'm gonna stop. How about questions? Anybody have questions? Comments? Abby?
So, like, you know, or you don't know. Not everyone can read mine. So like, why are we learning about this now? And why not before?
Why do you think we're learning about this now?
Before when, though? Before what?
Before 8th grade?
Before, like, before.
We didn't understand.
Before what, though? Like, before, like, you,
Like, I feel like we should be brought up to learn.
in elementary? Oh, okay.
No, we do. That's a good point. But we do talk, I mean, we don't talk about mental illness, but we do talk about social emotional learning, right? From the time that you're young, right? How to manage your emotions in a positive way. I think that we choose 8th grade because you guys are mature enough now to have these conversations about mental illness, right?
Yeah, everything should be age appropriate, because, you know, there's, even though, you know.
Yeah, like, not like the suicide stuff.
No, I know, right, exactly. And we don't want to scare little kids too. You guys are
Right.
at that age where you guys are seeing it on your social media, you're hearing about it, there's famous people that you follow that are dealing with it. And it's important to know the facts. I mean, there's a lot of myths out there. You know, my wellness class in 7th grade, we talk in detail about a lot of this stuff. Not everybody is in my wellness class in 7th grade. 6th grade, we talk, again, age appropriate
Oh my
about
gosh,
it.
do you have my sister? Oh, no, wait, no, you don't. She has Miss Holbert.
So here's some warning signs of depression. You guys are saying, and now, again, we all exhibit some of these things. So don't, you know, just because you have one or two of these things does not mean that you're depressed, all right? Your change, sometimes it affects people's change in sleep patterns. And that's a big one, especially when we're dealing with teenagers. That can be the first sign of realizing that something is not quite right. Putting blame on other people for their problems. Physical problems that can't be explained. You have a stomach ache every day. You have a headache every day. You're always sick. Pessimism, you guys know what that is? Just being negative, right? Pessimism versus optimism where you're positive. Indifference to things that used to bring pleasure. So if you loved getting together with your friends, all of a sudden you're staying home, okay? Or you loved playing that sport and all of a sudden you're not playing anymore. So you're kind of not caring about the things that used to give you pleasure when you were doing them.
Got like 1 minute.
Anger, anxiety, lack of energy, like, I think, Joe, you brought that up, feeling tired a lot, like that. These are all signs, okay? Inability to concentrate. Go ahead, Vin.
I said that because,
You do it.
my sister used to have like pretty bad anxiety.
Yeah.
But I was like, back when we lived in our old house, so like 2 years ago, then she had, like, when it was at its worst.
Yeah.
So so she moved her room into my room, and we were just like.
I was just probably were a good resource for her.
She's
good?
Yeah.
Good, awesome.
She doesn't want to get out of bed sometimes.
Yeah.
She lays down, her cat gets on top of her, she just wants.
I'm sure your mom keeps an eye on that though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my mom has to do everything for her.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, guys.
Thanks for sharing, Abby.
Okay, guys, you can leave.
All right,
See you Monday. Okay, in person. Bye-bye. Bye, Cody. See you later. Bye, Alex. Bye, Ava. Ava, where's your sissy?
Uh-oh.
I put in the chat. Where's Alexa? Bye, Sean. Bye, Josh. Bye, Angelina. Angelina, thanks for sharing. You're funny.
Thanks, Ange.
You're so cute. Okay, so this one, yeah, so we can, do you want to do it live or I can,
We got through a lot in this group, more than
Yeah.
we did the last one.
this was really great because, wait, let me just shut it off here.
So what, are you just gonna play it for them?
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
just upload it
That's
and
good. And
play
then,
it.
so then tomorrow we'll do the same thing, 1, 2, and